What is up, everyone? How are you? Sorry about I had some issues there. Yeah, so I guess welcome to my first ever proper live stream. I guess. I'm not sure if I'll change the name of these over time. This initial one I had put down as Horror Hangout. Um, I guess I'll probably do these once a week, just a general, I guess a bit of a news roundup. Talk about some movies I've seen, recommendations, podcast recommendations, different things like that. Um, Also, over time, you will see the quality of the light in the room. I'm waiting on some backing lights, different things like that. Um, but yeah, basically, it's a place that I have wanted to get into for quite a while now, and with being maybe a little bit more comfortable with interviews, podcasts, and different things like that, I do want to live stream. I'm sorry if my energy is a little bit lower today. It's kind of a pity considering this is the first live stream that I'm doing. I'm kind of under the weather a little bit, so I'm not as high energy as I would like to be. But yeah, like I said, it's a place where people can interact, different things, and kind of go from there. I've never live streamed too much before. From time to time I had, and then I just kind of got off the idea. I'm waiting on multiple monitors and camera setups and different things like that. I plan on having multiple shots, and I want to do live interviews at some point as well. So that's something else that I'm looking to do over time. Yeah, so I suppose just we'll get straight into it for today. It's not going to be an overly long live stream. It's just something to get it going really. Um, I I have a really bad habit with scheduling something and then putting it off and putting it off till it's perfect. So I decided to just go ahead and do this without having all the gear and having it the way I wanted it. Um, because if I don't, this is never going to happen. Um, so yeah, I guess first thing, just going to chat about some movies that I watched recently. One I watched last night was actually, I'm not sure how you pronounce this. It's WER. So were. I'm assuming. Okay, so it's a werewolf movie. So I'm assuming it's a play on that. I would imagine. Um, it was directed by a guy by the name of William Brent Bell, um, who has done things like The Boy 1 and 2, The Devil Inside, Stay Alive. I don't know if anyone remembers that, the video game movie from 2006. I think he also wrote this movie as well. This, for anybody who's a fan of things like Dog Soldiers and stuff, I don't know how this movie escaped me, to be honest. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It really changes up the werewolf subgenre, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like I'll give away, what it's actually all about. Obviously, it's a something to do with werewolves, but the movie kind of plays like a mystery movie up until a certain point, and then from there, then it kind of goes completely off a separate way. But the gore in it is fantastic. The kills in it are fantastic, and there's a real tension in the movie, and it's not your standard werewolf. That's the other thing I will point out. And for me, the end of the movie is like there. Okay, so there's a scene with a guy in a bathroom towards the end of the movie. I don't want to say too much about it because it'll completely give it away. But it is absolutely it's frightening, to be honest with you. It's frightening. All I can say is I recommend uh I definitely recommend checking this movie out. So that's Where. So it's WER, and it's in 2013. Wherever you're listening from in the world, I'm not sure where it is everywhere. I know in Ireland, I rented it on YouTube. I think for $2.99. It was well worth it. I just watched it last night, and I might actually watch it again tonight. To be honest. Next up that I watched was Fried Barry. I'm sure most people are probably familiar with that who have the Shutter subscription. Um, Again, I don't want to talk too much about it. It's about a junkie. He I guess, gets abducted by aliens or gets taken over by aliens, and the movie just goes from there. I really didn't think I was gonna like this. I seen everybody talking about it, and I done that thing. I jumped on the bandwagon, I guess, and checked it out for that reason. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Don't know if I'd call it a horror movie per se. It definitely does have horror elements, but I don't know if I would call it a straight up horror movie. But again, it Shudder, they're coming with these amazing movies time and time again. Um, which leads into the next movie that I had watched recently, which was Psycho Goreman. And I know I'm like super late to the party on that one, but yeah, that movie is like definitely, I would say, in my top 15 favorite movies of all time. I have watched that so many times since I first seen it. Um, it's just a perfect movie to me, and I really hope, I really, really, really hope that they get to explore that world they've created now. Because I don't even need to. Obviously, I want to see more Psycho Gorman, but I also want to know about the other planets and all these different. Um, I'm not sure what you would call them. Uh, Legions or factions or whatever you want to call it. I want to know more about all those things. And I really do think it's strange because it's not you can tell obviously it's not a huge budgeted movie, but they put a lot of time, I think, and effort into making it feel really fleshed out. Like even though we didn't get much information about a lot of the things, it made you feel like, I guess, like it was something like Star Wars. Like it had this huge like backstory and lore about all these different people and characters, and I just thought it was brilliant. Like it was so well done. So definitely go and check that out. Like I said, you could do a double bill with that and Fried Barry, which is basically what I done. Two super bizarre, kind of strange movies, but both definitely worth watching. And the final thing that I've watched recently that I decided I'd just stick in here, I know so many people have talked about it already, is Army of the Dead on Netflix. Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Look, I seen a lot of people giving him shit, um, saying that maybe they'll let him make another movie and do this and do that if he made good movies in the first place. I don't actually think he's that bad. I think he's quite good. Again, it's not for everybody, and personally, I'm not too interested in a 4 hour cut of Justice League, but I do hear it's decent. But it's one of those things like director's cuts aren't really going to, in my opinion, a lot of times they don't change the movie a massive amount. If you really didn't like a movie and then you wait for the director's cut expecting to miraculously like it, that's not going to happen for the most part. There is certain movies that probably do have that, but for the most part, if you really don't like a movie, waiting for the director's cut is pointless in my mind because it's just going to be more of the movie that you didn't like. I don't think there's ever been a movie where they've added 8 cut minutes and somebody who previously hated it has come back and said, "Oh, it's my favorite movie now." So, look, I get it. Some people, it's not their bag. I love zombies. I love zombie games. I love zombie comics, movies, TV shows, everything to do with zombies. And I personally really enjoyed it. I mean, it was fun. It done what it set out to do. I didn't expect anything. I mean, at the end of the day, we have Dave Batista, former WWE heavyweight champion, leading a pack of people into Vegas to perform a bank heist, essentially. And they're offering sacrifices to zombies and trying to get in and out without any issues. I mean, did you really expect some deep, meaningful story? I actually thought it was really well done. The story was decent. The acting was quite good. Dave Batista was actually really good in it. The cliffhangers at the end, even that opening scene had me kind of not scared, but I could feel the tension. You know, like when you hold your breath on a scene of a movie. When that original or when that initial scene opens up, I thought that was done really well. The zombies were amazing. The special effects and the makeup was amazing. The gore was great. The whole thing just worked for me personally, and I love this idea of how the zombies act, because I feel like zombies now with, I mean, we've had 28 Days Later, World War Z, The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all these different movies, and we've seen all these different versions of um zombies, and sometimes I think it can feel like, oh god, we're going to see zombies again. What is it going to be this time? I really think his hybrid idea of these zombies worked for me as somebody who is like super exposed to that kind of stuff. It didn't feel generic. It didn't feel like a cop out. It didn't feel like some sort of cash in. It actually made sense to me. And then the fact that afterwards all these Easter eggs have come out about, you know, robotic zombies and this and that. I actually really like that, and I hope to God. I do know that I think Netflix had come out and said it's their most successful movie in opening week or something like that. It was watched by like over 100 million people or something, which is amazing. And I really hope that that means we get to see a sequel to this. Apparently, Zack Snyder has already got an idea of where he wants to go and where the story will go. So I wouldn't be opposed to honestly seeing a trilogy made out of that. I wouldn't like to see any more than a trilogy, even for what it is, because for me, then it starts to go into Resident Evil territory, where, in my opinion, they got progressively worse as things went along. Um, and especially, like I said, uh, you know, something like Resident Evil as well. Huge fan of that. But as we went along, there was characters from Resident Evil introduced that were huge parts of the game and huge factors in the game that in the movies just didn't seem like much of anything. They kind of showed up. I mean, we have Barry Barton shows up in the movies and he's just like essentially treated like an extra, I think. Considering that in the games he was in, you know, a proper part of that story. Um so yeah. Okay, so we have a comment here from Greg Flanagan. Oh, hey man, how are you? Told you Backcountry is awesome and rewatched it again the other day. So this is one I'm going to go back and watch again. So I watched it and enjoyed it, but I was like, it was one of those things I had it on passively. And Greg has been telling me a lot about this movie, and I think I need to go and watch that tonight actually instead. Um. So yeah, he says it's dire as hell for the couple. It's one that always pops up on Amazon Prime for me, and I constantly have it there in the watch list, and just I have yet to actually properly sit down and give it the time. Um, but that is something that I am going to do tonight. Definitely 100%. And on next week's stream, what I'll do is I'm going to talk about that movie, maybe in a little bit more depth than I normally probably would. So yeah, I guess another thing I'm going to start doing as well is just recommending different things that I've been watching, listening to, reading, whatever it might be. I have some podcast recommendations. A lot of people will probably already know this podcast, but it's the Boo Crew. So for anybody who hasn't heard, the Boo Crew is a horror podcast, obviously. They are partnered. I'm just trying to pull up their Instagram now so I can plug it. So let's have a look. So they're on Instagram under Tales from the Boo Crew. They're basically the flagship podcast for Bloody Disgusting. Everything about their show to me is amazing. It's done in kind of a radio style, which is actually quite refreshing, to be honest. It has a kind of a different feel. But those guys are absolutely incredible. Their interviews are amazing. Just even recently, let's see, who have we got? Darren Lynn Bousman they had recently. William Brent Bell. They've had lots of people, like they've had Kesha, they've had Danny Elfman, like some huge interviews, and I really think they're massively underrated. You can check them out at www.talesfromthebooCrew.com. But definitely go and support them. Check them out if you like things like this. They have obviously a way higher production quality than I do, but it's something that I aspire to be like. I guess they're very, very good. And the other one is not so much horror. Well, it's not horror at all, actually. It's called the Mile Higher Podcast. I know it probably sounds like it's some sort of weed or smoking podcast, but it's not. It's all, how could I say, unsolved mysteries kind of a thing. Um, Murder cases, just strange and bizarre stuff. They have a, for example, they have a podcast. They have a podcast episode on a guy that referred to himself as Pazuzu. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard of him, and just the whole story of him. They do missing person cases, but they really go in depth in some of them. Like some of the episodes are like 2 hours long. And it's a husband and wife, as far as I know, but they're like super enjoyable to watch, and it's like really chill watch. Um, and if you're one of those people like me, sometimes if I'm at home, I don't just like to listen to a podcast. If I'm sitting around and maybe I'm writing or doing something, I like to have it so I can see the podcast. And they have a really nice set, and it's great. And then Josh, who is one of the co-hosts, he also has his own podcast, which is probably a little bit more horror esque. It's called the Lights Out Podcast, which covers all kind of spooky, scary, all that sort of stuff, which is also really good. So I massively recommend that. Um, Up next is a big announcement for me personally. Not a huge gamer anymore. When I was, it was your usual things, Call of Duty, Daisy, that kind of stuff. And then I guess I got into horror games from there. So I would play, Resident Evils, Until Dawn, that kind of style. And I just kind of got out of gaming completely. But one style of gaming that I've always loved is zombie games. The Left 4 Dead games, different things like that. The World War Z game I really enjoyed. But I guess my pinnacle game, probably my favorite game. Yeah, I would say probably my favorite game of all time is Dying Light. So last week we had an announcement from Techland. It actually, funny enough, I think the night before it might have gotten leaked by some Italian website, leaked the date and everything. But besides that, anyway, so we have Dying Light 2 is finally coming out. Something that a lot of people argued with me and told me it would never come out. This is not happening. It's like Dead Island 2. It's dead in the water. But Dying Light 2 Stay Human is coming out on the 7th of December, 2021. So from looking at all the different things about this, from what I can make out, we have, I don't want to say a similar game. I can imagine it's going to be, obviously, it's going to look the same. We're going to be able to interact with nearly everything. You can basically go everywhere, free roam essentially. But it seems that it's 15 years from the last game. And it seems that we have, I think it's 3 factions. And depending on who you work with will depend on how the game plays out. So I guess, if you choose to help this faction and do all their side quests and build up their place, the other factions may turn against you, and the layout of the map may actually change as to what happens. I noticed in the gameplay trailer there was a huge emphasis on mentioning that factions were fighting to essentially keep as much real estate as they could to build safe houses and different things for their faction in particular. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of decisions to make. Just even from the gameplay, you can tell they put you in positions where different people are trying to, I guess, convince you to help them or turn on somebody else or whatever. And I like that because that gives the game then replayability. Techland have supported Dying Light, the first one, even up until now. I recently bought it again. They brought out the Platinum Edition on PlayStation. So I bought it again, and that comes with all the DLC, everything. And I've started playing from scratch again. Now, bear in mind, I have cleared this game twice on PC, and I have cleared this game 2 or 3 times, I think, on PS4. And now I'm going back on PS5 to play the Platinum Edition again before the second one comes out. There is so much stuff in that Platinum Edition, from the game that we had gotten, like the bog standard game. There's so much extra stuff. I cannot recommend that game enough. And I literally can't wait till December. That's going to be the only thing I want for Christmas is going to be that game. It's just, it's next level. Like, I mean, you've got zombie games, you've got those open world kind of feeling games, but Dying Light takes it to a completely new level. Like, it's, I guess it's a good thing that they don't pump out games all the time because you're just going to get the same shit over and over again. But that game, I can only imagine, like, when this game comes out, how well supported it's going to be now. And like, I mean, that game came out. It must be 5, 6 years ago. And they're still supporting that game up till right now. Like, that's crazy. That's unheard of for games, I think, for the most part. For the most part. But yeah, we got that announcement, which will probably keep a lot of the gamers and the horror gamers happy. Let's see, we have another comment here from Greg Flanagan. Outlast was an unreal game, man. I loved it. Outlast were very good. I have yet to play is it Outlast Trinity, which is the last one? I have yet to play that, but I am interested to play it. Those games actually scared the shit out of me, to be honest. It took me so long to play the first two because I would just turn them off after a while. I want to say, I think it's the first one where you break into that hospital or that building, and like even that initial first bit literally took me weeks. It's funny coming from someone who loves horror so much. I really don't like to be put in and left to make those decisions. I would sooner be on the outside looking in and just let somebody else play the game. Okay, so let's see what's up next. Oh yeah, Trick or Treat Studios are releasing a Captain Spaulding, kind of like a retro vinyl figure, which is quite cool. It's currently up for pre-order. You can get it from a lot of your horror outlets or directly from Trick or Treat Studios. I don't think they've announced a release date yet, but it is coming in at $19.99 for pre-order, so that's interesting. Just bear with me for 1 second here, guys. So yeah, that's quite cool. I don't know how it'll work with his wife and stuff. I know she's been really struggling since Sid Haig passed away, unfortunately. One of my favorite actors played one of my favorite characters out of any movie ever. And I know she's had a lot of problems since he passed away, unfortunately. So I hope that somehow or some way she still owns the rights to maybe some stuff to do with that, or she'll get some money from this just to help her. It will be nice to see. We have the Forever Purge. I was just looking up some more information on that. So it seems like it's Western themed, which I think is really interesting. It's a unique idea. And without getting too in depth in it, the whole story seems to center around, I guess, a group of people or whatever that decide that the purge shouldn't end on daybreak and they just continue, which I'm assuming is a play on, the Forever Purge. I would imagine that they believe that they should be able to just purge someone when they feel like it. An interesting way to close it out. I don't know. I was trying to think about how would this end, or how does this close the book on the whole thing. And part of me wondered was like, it, there was one thought I had, but I'm not sure if it really makes sense to do it. Was the fact that, okay, so we've got this group of people, or I'm not sure how many people are supposed to be in this group that believe that they can continue killing after, after daybreak and after the purge ends. Um, so what if we have our whole movie, our kills, our different things like that, And then when we get to the end, maybe potentially the NFAA decide to get rid of the purge because of this. And is that how it ends? So there is no more purge? Not even for the 12 hours, the 7 to 7? That might be a way to end it. Seems like a little bit weird. Or maybe it can just go the other way and the United States becomes overrun and it's just like a purge all the time. I'm not sure if they have any plans to follow up any of this or where the purge goes from here. Personally, as a huge purge fan, I'd really like to just see it just stop now. I don't have any desire to see anymore. I mean, we've gotten quite a few movies, we got our TV shows. I think that should be it. I don't see why we would keep going. I know there's still mileage left in it in a sense that you could potentially pump out movies or a TV show in anywhere in the world and make it a little bit different. But it's just starting to feel like The Walking Dead for me now, and I think it's time to leave it alone, really. The last thing I wanted to talk about actually was the Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It. Again, I'm still going to stick with my initial thoughts on this about the fact that for me, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It seems like a very, very strange fucking choice for a title. I always imagined that you would try and avoid having titles like that. And it seems really strange for such a high caliber franchise. I mean, The Conjuring is a huge name in horror now. And it's branched off. Like, I mean, we have the Conjuring universe essentially. You know, you've got the Nun, you've got Annabelle, all these different stories, which I would imagine is going to expand more and more and more. I just can't believe that they decided to call it The Devil Made Me Do It. It just seems really weird. And to be honest, that was kind of putting me off the movie altogether. And then I seen the trailers. And then I started to get excited about it. And then I started to hear more about it and see different interviews and different things. And now I cannot wait. I know in some regions, I think the movie's already out. In Ireland, we will not get it till the 7th of June when the cinemas open up over here. But I'm actually, that's one I might honestly venture out for on opening day. I'm really excited to see it. Just a quick synopsis, I guess. It's the story is a murder suspect who claims that demonic possession was why everything that happened. And apparently it's the first case in US history, or first and only case. So it seems like it might be really interesting and it's supposed to be scary as fuck as well. Which is and do you know what? Like, I know a lot of people don't like the second Conjuring, but it's not that bad. You know, on the grand scheme of things, like they've kind of kept that universe together quite well, and especially for horror movies, it hasn't gone too off the rails yet. But in saying that, I kind of want to see it done with a trilogy. So once this movie, we just have the Conjuring trilogy. But at the same time, the Warrens do have a lot of batshit insane stories. So part of me, the selfish part of me, just wants to see them pump out every single story that they've ever had and just make movies on them all. I know some will be shit, but some will probably be really good. And I just, that's just the greedy horror fan in me that wants to see that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess next week when I do this, I'll probably have seen the movie, hopefully, and I can talk about it a little bit more. But for this initial live stream, I think that's basically it. Like I said, this wasn't really planned per se. It was very impromptu. I done it more so to be accountable to myself. So I can't make excuses about not having the right lights, not having the right equipment, not having enough monitors, different things like that. I'm literally doing this right now off of a laptop. So that's why we're only seeing the one angle and I'm looking right at it. I will have multiple screens very soon, a better setup, better backlighting back here, and just a nicer, different camera, just little things that I would prefer to have. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on and kind of give everybody a little bit of a taste. Like I said, my energy's a little bit lower today. because I have a bit of a sore throat and a blocked nose, and different things like that. So I'm not on my A game. I would like to be a little bit more high energy, which I will be in the future. And not every episode or anything is going to be structured like this. I'm potentially toying with the idea of having 2 live streams a week. I'm not sure, but I kind of want to do like a horror hangout like this, and then maybe potentially pick a topic and do maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour on a particular topic. So whether that's, we look at a franchise, and we look at maybe old horror movie trailers, we look at a particular movie, Lost Gems or something like that. Maybe we'll have people pop in and out with a live stream, other podcasters, other horror fans, different things like that, and we'll talk about random stuff. But yeah, like I said, appreciate everyone for all the support so far. The podcast has been doing great, and I can't thank everybody enough for the feedback, the support, the share, and the likes, the reviews, everything like that. If you do want to check out the podcast, it's www.classhorrorcast.com. You'll find everything there. It's on all podcast streaming platforms under Class Horrorcast. And I'm on Twitter at class_horror. If you want to use that, I rarely use Twitter anymore, but I do still have it. I'm most active on Instagram. It's at First Class Horror on Instagram. Sorry, I had a complete brain freeze there. Yeah, so First Class Horror on Instagram is probably the best place to get in touch with me. And keep an eye out. Just keep an eye out for some new interviews. I have a lot of stuff in the works. And just to give you guys, I guess, a bit of a teaser, I have episodes coming with Mark Jones, who's the creator of Leprechaun. Let's have a look here and see what I've got in the bag. I have an episode with Frank Sabatella, who done The Shed, a couple of different movies. Mike Vaughn, who is an award-winning voice actor who voiced the killer in the Scream TV series. I have an interview with the cinematographer of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original and the remake, Daniel Pearl. And he's basically worked with everybody in the entire movie and music business. Nick Benson, who is hugely popular special effects makeup artist for horror movies, worked on a lot of huge name movies and is now turning to writing and directing. Got him. I've got Mark Ramsey, who has made several huge podcasts for Wondery, like Inside Jaws, Psycho, and The Exorcist. And I have some collaborations with the Because You Were Home podcast, which is two lovely ladies from Ireland who run their own horror podcast. And then a really good friend of mine, Jay Bond from Bloodbath and Beyond. So just keep an eye out. I am going to try and put out 2 podcasts a week. It's just been so hard to try and edit and do everything else as well. But the goal will be to have a full podcast interview every week, a horror hangout live stream for an hour, another live stream topic based, and then a bite size podcast episode as well. So yeah, like I said, look, support me if you can. Final comment we have here. Greg, Wrong Turn franchise. I'll jump on with you for a live if you need. Yeah, of course, man. So there's an example now. Greg has his own podcast as well. Huge horror fan, huge movie fan as well. And we're going to do something soon. Hopefully, we'll do a live stream and we will chat all about the Wrong Turn franchise. So we'll figure out a format for it between me and him, but that's something to look forward to. We'll probably just go from the start, and we'll have a quick look at each of the movies and where they fit and what changed and what was different, and then right up until the reboot recently, and just give our thoughts. Really, maybe we might show some clips or some images or movie trailers or something like that as well. But yeah, like I said, thanks for checking it out, everybody. Thanks for the support. If you did like it, like, share, subscribe. Anything you can do is greatly appreciated. And yeah, I guess I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye bye.